With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Allan B. And Allan B writes, "Greetings, John and Rob. With the announcement that Cineworld and their theaters like Regal planning on opening again in July in time for Tenet, what do you think the chances are that other theater chains like Cinemark and AMC will do the same? Thanks, and bring on the social distance filthy." All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yes, of course, on yesterday's show, we talked about the fact that Cineworld, which is, of course, the company that owns Regal and several other movie theater chains, put out a statement that basically said they are planning to be open again in July. That is their plan. They are going to be open in July, and they specifically call out that they want to be open in time to meet Christopher Nolan's film Tenet and Disney's Mulan, which comes out theoretically a week after Tenet. So they were the first ones out of the gate to come out and said, we are going to be open in July. Now, just because they're saying that, we got to keep in mind, we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. I mean, that's still over a month away. But I mean, that's maybe things get a lot worse and the government says, hey, that's great that you want to open these theaters, but we're not going to let you. I mean, that could happen, but it does look like things are heading in that direction. And they've now come out and made a statement to their shareholders. We are going to be open in July. Following that, one of the things I've been really fortunate about is that, surprise, surprise, a lot of people who work in movie theaters watch this show, which of course, because they love movies. But I've gotten a lot of correspondence from people over the last year or so about various, particularly the last few months, about the stuff going on within the movie theaters and sharing some internal memos. I had a few people reach out yesterday, and really this isn't going to surprise anybody at all, but apparently both AMC Theaters and Cinemark have already started internal communications that they are also planning on being open in July, which means an announcement should be coming fairly shortly, probably in the next 48 to 72 hours, maybe just after the weekend. We're going to hear from other theater chains as well that they are also planning on being open in July. AMC had actually put out a statement a little while ago, Rob, suggesting that they were going to be open in June, that they may even be open mid to late June. So whether or not they hold on to that, I don't know. But as of right now, it does appear that all the movie theater chains are indeed planning on being open, at least the major ones, come July. Now, Rob, you and I have talked about the fact that we have other countries that have already started opening their movie theaters. Yeah. And even we talked last week, the number's probably higher than it was then. But last week we talked about how the number of theaters opening had doubled. There were now 200 theaters in the United States opening. Rob, seeing what is happening now, and this is not just something that's changing and taking on new dimension month to month or week to week. It also feels like this is a topic and a story that's evolving and changing day to day. So right now, knowing that Regal is planning on opening their theaters, restaurants in Los Angeles apparently are going to start opening this week. Hearing that now other movie theater chains are also planning and communicating internally that they do plan on being open for when Tenet releases, all this kind of stuff. Where does that put you right now on we'll put the shoulds aside for a second. Where does that put your thinking right now on will these theaters actually be open when July 17th comes around and Tenet is supposed to open? Where are your feelings right now about whether or not that will actually happen? What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, people certainly want movie theaters to open. They want to be out and about. They want their normal lives back, which I totally understand. And again, I think it really depends on where we're at. I mean, we're not the COVID deaths. We're almost to 105,000 deaths in America. That if the COVID deaths go down, then I could see that they could open. I mean, look, I think all of our economy needs to open, and again, we need to do it carefully and we need to do it methodically and safely. But I think that it really depends on John. I went to the grocery store, my local grocery store yesterday. There's somebody standing outside with hand sanitizer. They sanitize the carts, the push carts that you use after everybody. They let people only in one door and out another. And I feel relatively safe. It's the only place I've really gone since we've been locked down since March. And I feel very safe there. And I think that if movie theaters are equally diligent about that, I think that maybe it could work out. It really depends on, is it viable for the studios? Do they feel Tenet? Because for me, man, it's all about Tenet. I just want to see Tenet, John. And does Warner Brothers feel that their investment in this very expensive movie can be returned with the movie theater situation the way it's going to be on July 17th? And I think that's really where we're at. They've said they have to have New York and Los Angeles theaters open. It's going to affect their decision. And I see that there's a lot of people taking the kind of precautions they should be around here. And maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe they can open. But again, like you said, we're 45 days out. So I've always thought, and we've talked about it on this show, that they'll probably make a final decision by June 15th at the latest.
Right.
And I guess we'll know.
I think this is the interesting thing to me, because like I said, a lot of Los Angeles counties are now saying that announcements coming this week, they're going to start reopening restaurants, right?
Yeah.
With limited capacity and, a lot of safety precautions, things like that. But, you and I have said on this show before, at least I've repeated this several times, is that I would feel much safer sitting in a movie theater than I would in a restaurant or in a grocery store.
Yeah.
But if the grocery stores do what you and I have been talking about, they make me feel very comfortable. When I go to the grocery store, I feel very comfortable because our grocery stores, at least here where we live, have acted in really good faith. Like, they have just done the right things to make us feel safe going in and doing what we need to do. If restaurants can do that as well, and I feel like those are more at-risk environments than, say, a movie theater, I'm starting to feel more and more confident that they're going to be able to hit this milestone, barring unforeseen spikes or drops or whatever. Like, barring the unforeseen, right now I'm feeling even more confident that they will have these things open. Warner Brothers still hasn't budged. We, of course, heard Bob Chapek say the other day that they're not budging. At least he's saying that we're not budging on our Mulan release date, which is the week after Tenet. So I'm feeling more and more like this is going to come to be, and it's just going to take some time for people to get comfortable with it, I suppose. Yeah. So the question, though, is for you guys, what do you think about these reports coming out that come July, when Tenet is supposed to be out in theaters, the theaters will be open? What do you think about that? Can they actually cross that line? Or do you think at this point that's still just way too optimistic? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.